A number of you guys asked me to review the film House of Dynamite. I actually watched the movie. Here is my review for accuracy or strategy. Quick note here, Jake Bro would probably be a better person to talk to than me because he was a missileer. I know a little bit about this stuff. I also know a little bit about kind of the logic behind nuclear weapons. This environment might look a little bit different. My house flooded, so I'm staying at a hotel. I will tell you, there is a huge difference between staying at a hotel because you want to stay at a hotel and staying at a hotel because you need to stay at a hotel. So it is kind of funny that I'm in this situation, but insurance will probably take care of it. I got, the whole floor has been ripped up, and I got contractors there, and I still kind of consider myself lucky. But if you want to support the channel, head on over to ryanmcbeth.substack.com or buy a t-shirt from Bunker Branding. So on to the actual movie, and this is going to contain spoilers, of course. So the movie starts with a ballistic missile being launched from the ocean near Korea toward the United States, and it kind of happens in real time where we watch different vignettes of people from an interceptor base in Alaska to the White House Situation Room to a video conference, and eventually to the president, who is on a black screen because he's been called in, not videoed in, for most of the movie. And there's some things that they kind of got right and some things they kind of got wrong. One quick thing to talk about is inside the skiff of the White House Situation Room, they have phone boxes. So that was kind of neat. Whoever wrote this movie knew that, well, you can't take your phone into the skiff. You have to leave it outside, and you put it inside a locked box, and you take the key with you. Every skiff has these phone boxes. The one thing that kind of didn't make sense is that at one point, people do bring their phones into the skiff when they kind of realize, oh my God, it's the end. They do bring their phones into the skiff, and I don't think, no skiff I've ever been in, a cell phone would actually work in, because it's basically a big Faraday cage, so it blocks signals from getting out. So you wouldn't even be able to use your cell phone inside the skiff, but they have to create drama one way or the other. Another thing that was kind of unrealistic, well, let me back up. Another thing that was realistic was getting everybody on a conference call within minutes. That would absolutely 100% happen within minutes. We do it essentially all the time whenever the Russians try to test our radar systems and try to penetrate Alaska. Everyone gets on a conference call or a messaging call. We do this all the time. We know how to do this. So yeah, a whole bunch of people would be on a call if there were a Russian bomber coming or headed toward the U.S. Now, some things that didn't make a lot of sense, or actually the biggest thing that didn't make a lot of sense in the movie, was how there was one guy from Stratcom who was insisting we have to retaliate. And we have to retaliate or we'll look weak. And this is one of those things where it's well, we don't really know who did it yet. And I can tell you that if some rogue nation like North Korea launched a nuclear weapon at the United States, if anybody did something like that, we would rapidly find out who did it, not because they would necessarily admit it, but because every other nation who didn't do it would be telling the United States, hey, we didn't do this thing. Or they would be helping find out exactly who did, because we have a heck of a lot of nuclear weapons, over 1,000, and you probably don't want this smoke. Once we figure out who did it, you're gonna have a big problem. Second thing that I didn't like too much was that Chicago was the target for this nuclear weapon. And there was this argument of, we need to retaliate, We don't know who we're retaliating against. But, in this, you've already lost Chicago. I mean, maybe not. Nuclear, people have this trope of nuclear weapons of, oh my God, if a nuclear bomb goes off, it destroys the whole world. And we've had over, I want to say it's 2,085 nuclear explosions since the atomic bomb was invented, and we're fine. right? Now, granted, those weren't overpopulated areas, but there is this kind of trope that one nuclear bomb goes off and, oh my God, it's all over. So the logic behind attacking, even if we don't know if the warhead headed to Chicago works, we don't know its yield. Like, Chicago might not be totally destroyed. It could be a 10 kiloton weapon, hits the downtown, people in the suburbs don't even know, aren't even affected by it. So there's a lot of scenarios, and none of those scenarios are improved by immediately striking back when we don't know exactly who hit us. So there was another plot point in the movie about B-2 bombers that were in the air, and the Russians say, we need you to recall your bombers, and as like a show of faith. And like how we would do that, because why when the bomb or when the missile is launched, one of the first things we do is we're going to scramble our bombers, right? Because we need to get those things in the air, because if they're sitting on a runway, if there is a counterattack, we're going to lose those bombers. So the Russians would probably know that we would not land our bombers to prove that we're not going to retaliate against Russia. If anything, one thing we could do is we could say, well, we'll hold our bombers at a point and just keep midair refueling them. Is that good enough? Like, that has to be good enough. And the Russians would probably say, yes, we understand. That has to be good enough. And you can keep those bombers aloft for, I want to say, about 36 hours until they need to get brought in for maintenance, change the oil and stuff. So I don't think the Russians would ask that we land our bombers, because even they wouldn't do that. But we'd probably be able to get away with just keeping them midair, refueling them until we figure out who actually did this, which shouldn't take that long, because like I said, other nations would chime in. Other stuff that I think that might be about it for like kind of stuff that doesn't make any sense. I know why the Stratcom commander was demanding that the U.S. retaliate, even though we didn't really know who did it, because there has to be tension, right? Someone needs to play the Buck Turgidson role from Dr. Strangelove. Someone has to demand that we fight back. But as from the standpoint of realism, I actually don't think that the scenario shown in House Full of Dynamite was a realistic scenario. Author Annie Jacobson used a similar scenario in her book, Nuclear War, and that was a bad scenario as well. She is a fantastic fiction writer, but she's not a very good writer of science books, I'll tell you that. But the issue with that scenario in the movie was the same scenario that was essentially in Annie Jacobson's book. One nuclear weapon is shot and everyone went, oh, we need to retaliate. If a nuclear weapon explodes over Chicago or even Washington, D.C., that does not eliminate our counter-strike capabilities. We have a lot of safeguards put in for that. We can still fight back. Our missile silos are still good. Our bombers are still in the air. We have submarines with nuclear weapons that are underneath the surface of the ocean. We're fine. We can still strike back if we have to. So that whole, we need orders now kind of thing, it's not realistic. It's not realistic at all. A more realistic example of how nuclear war could actually happen would be China invading Taiwan. Because if China invades Taiwan, one of the best use cases for nuclear weapons would be the United States destroying Chinese ships on the high seas or in the landing zones, or China attacking U.S. aircraft carriers and sinking them using nuclear weapons. Those are two perfectly valid use cases for when you might want to use a nuclear weapon. But then again, if you were to do something like that, then that probably means more special effects and more whatever. So, was it a good movie? I mean, it was entertaining. Is it realistic? The scenario is 100% not realistic whatsoever. The way people behaved, I mean, again, it's a movie. So I guess as realistic as it needs to be for a low-budget movie. Is it the best scenario? Absolutely not. There would be better, but it would increase the cost of a movie. All right, I have to go edit this video in the hopes that I make some kind of money. So, thank you guys so much for watching.
In the modern age of progress and preparedness, one thing separates the professional from the amateur: appearance. That's why forward-thinking Americans choose Bunker Branding Apparel, the official uniform of those who get things done. Each shirt is precision-engineered and field-tested under rigorous conditions such as extended YouTube filming operations, Substack editorial duty, and the occasional internet argument. Designed for comfort, durability, and undeniable sense of tactical cool. So remember, citizens, when you're defending democracy, refueling freedom, or simply mowing the strategic lawn, Bunker Branding keeps you mission-ready, wrinkle-free, and unmistakably American.